Alright, so I promised you guys a video on how to illuminate the pod 10-inch or 24-inch stand, and I happened to have sold one the other day to a customer and he wanted some lights on it. So he brought it in today and surprised me and said, "Hey, can you put lights on this?" And I said, "I can try." So I dug through my big box of junk and found everything I need to do this. So we're going to do this a little bit differently than what is in the written tutorial, but this might actually be a little bit better. So what we're going to need for this, same as before, we're going to need some silicone sealant. There we go. I always do this backwards. I've got some extra. This is like plastic and emblem adhesive. So I just thought I'd pull that out. And then our epoxy putty from Harvey's, nice and strong, bonds like steel. A couple pairs of pliers. You need at least two, at least the way I did it. And you can probably do it your own way if you like. And then I like to use this battery. A 12-volt battery is 2,500 milliamps, something like that. It's nice because it's portable. I'm not tethered to a power supply of any kind. I can just plug it in, unplug it, move around, do whatever I have to. And then I'll be using some tin snips. These are some big guys because we're going to cut the stainless steel clamp. So that's not actually necessary. I just like to keep it clean. So if you don't have these, don't worry about it. It's not going to hurt you. So I'll just jump right in. You can see I've already taken the stand apart. If you don't know how to do that, then you probably shouldn't be watching this because that's the easiest part. We're going to use the same 4-inch stainless steel clamp that we used on the last one, but we're going to mount it a little bit differently. And I've already taken one apart because I wasn't sure how to do this. So I sat at the bar trying to figure it out. So this one's already done, but I'll show you what I've done effectively. Just taken off the entire clamp, the tightener, the screw, and the tightening assembly itself, as opposed to last time we left it on and I fed wires through it. We don't need to do it this time. And then I left myself an opening on it, and I bent where I want to cut it. Okay, and so effectively I sized it up, and I want to give myself about a 1 to 2 inch gap right there. You can see it. I'm not really sure if it's showing up too well. Probably is. It's a nice camera. And I'm going to cut this at that joint here in a few minutes. But the other parts we're going to use are a wireless mini transceiver, or receiver. It's not a transceiver. I'm pretty sure there's a picture of this, and I'll link to where I got it on Amazon on the blog. But it's great. It's just a tiny little receiver. It's actually a little bit smaller than your typical 3-button switch, and then a nice little remote to go with it. Direct power supply right there. Piece of cake. And these are really cool. I got this on Amazon. It's actually a 30 centimeter RGB strip. All right, and it happens to be the perfect size for a 10-inch or again 24-inch pod stand with a clamp like this. And it came with a nice adapter. And if you can see. There we go. Both ends actually come with the female side connection, so you can just plug into either side of this, or if you want to run it in series and do strings of them, you can do that. And I've got extensions and adapters and things, and we don't need any of those. But it happens to work really well because it also comes with this little 4-pin connector, so you can connect it directly in strips if you want to. But this, miraculously, is exactly what we need to connect it to our wireless receiver. When doing it this way actually takes out the need for, on the last the last video where we had the actual RGB connectors, we can totally eliminate the need for the connector and go straight to the controller. So what I did is I just took my 30 centimeter LED, lined it up in here, made sure it was good. Take a step back. First thing you do is plug in your connector. Your 4-pin connector. One of these days. It's always the little things that you get hung up on, right? I was also playing with this earlier. Maybe I bent it, but it's okay. That's why we have wonderful Camtasia Studio. We can take those things out. All right, so we've got our 4-pin connector on there. We've got our wireless receiver. Plug that bad boy in. When we throw it on a power supply, as always, make sure the things work before you do all this, because you'll be pulling your hair out later trying to figure out what went wrong. So we've got lights on, and so you can see that. These are pretty stinking bright. We'll see that in a moment. And we can also just test the remote. Change the speed, change the mode, change the brightness, change the color. These are exactly the same thing as before. All the other ones, but with a remote. So that's good. Turn it off, unplug, move the battery out of the way, convenient. And the way I like to do this one is we line up the LEDs on the inside and we suspend the receiver in the air outside of the clamp. And the idea here is, if we're not butted up against all that steel, especially if it's on the inside, we're going to get better reception with those very weak little remotes. So hopefully this will give us a little bit more range. And then when we're done with this, if you can see it, we're actually going to adhere the wire to the outside of the stainless steel clamp here, and then run the wire down the leg. Okay, so when you're doing this, make sure you're thinking ahead. Where is this going to go, and how am I going to do it? So right there, nice little perfect fit. So it might be different for yours. I don't know what size clamp you have or what size string you're going to have, things like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up where my connector basically sits right there on the edge of the lip where I'm cutting, like that, and then we'll work backwards from there. But first I want to cut this. So I'm sure I'm going to hit myself in the eyes. I always go off camera, sorry guys. I'm not so good at this. I cut pretty easily. So we cut the excess off, toss it over there, and that's really not sharp at all, so we're good. Now what I want to do is I want to epoxy this to my stand. So we'll get our little two-stage stuff that they say, and make sure you wear latex gloves with, and obviously I'm doing that. Safety first, guys. Later I will be sure to touch my eyes and eat some finger food. Okay, so what I like to do, you guys can do this your own way. I'm sure there's people out there that know how to do this better than I do. I just make hookahs, right? So I just roll into these little string-like putties, and then I'll put it right along the edge of my clamp here. Makes it difficult. So I'll zoom in here a little bit and try to stand off to the side. Like I said, we want this gap. This is where my controller is going to come out, and then the wire is going to come across and up the stand. So I'll just gently set it so it doesn't start squishing. Find my place and then press it down. Shoot, I wish I had 6 hands sometimes. Now, I'm going to hold it here for a minute. I'm going to hold it here for a minute until it gets a little bit of adhesion, and then I'll go around and sort of pinch all this together and smooth it out. Get as much surface on the two pieces of metal as possible. Because it doesn't matter if the bottom edge of our clamp is getting any epoxy, because the outside and inside edges are going to be, if you can see, I mean, they've got some pretty good coverage here, and that's what matters. So you kind of squish it, get it touching the Fumo stand, and that's where you're going to get your bond, is actually on the outside edges, not on the rim of the clamp itself. That was just there to hold it for us, make this as easy as possible. And don't forget the outside too. Again, I'm going to edit most of this out. Really easy. That's another thing too. Don't let this inner edge come up too high, or your LEDs are not going to sit. They're going to hang off the edge. So you got to make sure you're giving yourself enough smooth surface that you're not getting any overlap on that. Not overlap, overhang, excuse me. So when in doubt, push down, I guess is what I'm saying. And worry about connecting to the Fumo stand. That's the smoothest surface here that we're dealing with. You can see it's already moving on this side. The clamp's got the ridges from where where the screw would catch it, so you've got some opportunity to push it through that, and once that stuff dries, that's going to be a rock solid hold. But the Fumo stand is all smooth. It's nice. I'm pretty sure they make these stands out of that same surgical grade stuff. So it's difficult to work with sometimes on these projects. And they say, all these epoxies say you're supposed to score the surfaces you're working on. Well, I'm not scoring the stand. It's too pretty. Okay, so I'm pretty much done. Like I said, this stuff, I'm really not a big fan of this for this particular project, this epoxy, but it's what I had, and most likely never going to see it. And boy, I've been doing this for a couple minutes now, and before I even got a chance to flatten it all out, it started getting pretty rigid on me. So we're gonna leave it at that. All right. Like I said, when this thing is up, you can't. When you stay there, you can't see. If you see anything, you're gonna see the bottom edge of this with this clamp, and you're not going to see where it's bonded. So don't worry about that. And if you are really worried about it, then right here where you have your exposed areas, don't put anything there. And then you'll never see it. Just bond it all around the stand. We have our strip with our wireless controller. We will take our adhesive backing off, the part that protects the adhesive. Okay, and like I said, we're going to work it backwards. So I said I'm going to take my 4-pin connector and put it on the edge right here. So do that, and then work it backwards. Now the silicone sealant is going to be great for this later because we can actually reinforce this, because this 3M tape, it does the job, I guess, but it does not hold up long term. So you can see if you can see, I'm just putting it all together here. And it's my LED controller. Sticks out right there. Probably should have backed that up just a little bit more than I did. You can see it's just a little tension right here. I probably should have backed it up another 1/4 inch, but that will be fine. We are happy with this. It's gorgeous. Okay, and we'll test the lights again for good measure. That way we know it worked at this point, this junction. Boom. Gorgeous. Love it. Alright, and really? We're done. That was it. Now our Pod 10 will glow. We can give it some time to set before we smoke out of it and get any water or anything on it.